live on TV now, surrounded by a security detail. There are apparently discussions underway of some sort. We also have another camera that we can see that is behind. You're not looking at this right now, but from what I can tell, this is behind, across from the ferry building in what's the bus turnaround in between what would be One Market Street, or One Market is, which is directly across from the ferry building. This is where they usually turn around the buses. You're now seeing police presence there as well. Highly anticipated. These are pro-China supporters here waiting in anticipation. They want to see the torch run. They've been here out for hours hoping to see this symbol of unity and of Chinese pride. And so they're certainly anticipating seeing the torch.
Well, as Diane mentioned, they very well may not see the torch run itself because obviously, as Diane mentioned, the beginning of the torch route has changed itself. Diane, any updates as to where Lin Lee may be, or maybe even another torch runner has the torch at this point?
I'll tell you what, I did notice that the area where the original torch runner ran into the building at the pier, there appears to be some other torch runners still in there at that point. So maybe the torch is still in there. And, you know, my guess is if you look at the street here right along McCovey Cove, that is extremely secure. So maybe it's a possibility they'll still bring them out and at least run down this street here. This is filled with mostly pro-Chinese supporters along this street. So, and they certainly, as you can see, we've got police officers lined up on both sides plus barricades, so it's possible they're preparing to bring them out that way. But my impression right now is that that torch is still inside that building because we have not seen it come out from our angle anyway. So that's what I'm thinking is going on right there, and you can tell everyone else is trying to figure out the same thing here, sort of confused on what's happening.
Yeah, at this point it's not a torch run, it's more like a torch halt. It's
yes.
a game of find the torch at this moment. Unclear if police are anticipating what their next move should be or if this is the way that they plan to do it, to throw some of the protesters and the media off course. That we really don't know at this point and really won't know until we're briefed by officials much later in the day.
And of course, one of those torch bearers, torch runners, is our own Raj Mathai, and we're being told he is in a holding place right now. We're not told where exactly, but he could perhaps be in that building we're looking at right now from Chopper 11, but he is one of the, I believe now, 77 or 76 torchbearer or runners on this route. Diane, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, so again, this is the building. We're looking at the pier right next to McCovey Cove. And from what we understand at this point, the runner is inside still with the torch as far as we know, although a motorcade did come out from there. You know, what was interesting also is I was talking to some folks in Chinatown today and yesterday, and their response to all of this I found very interesting as well. The older Chinese folks were very disappointed and were so very proud to have the Olympic Games in their country. The younger ones felt like it was an opportunity to bring up some of the human rights issues and the Tibetan issues. So I found that fairly interesting as well as far as within the Chinese community here in San Francisco. And there's a huge contingent of Chinese community here at this event today at the opening ceremony as well.
Diane, hold on for a moment. I want to bring Officer Lum in here for a moment. Officer, you're looking at that building. Can you tell us a little bit about, have you ever used that building before as a securing area? And what are police doing if indeed the runner is in there? What's the plan in your estimation?
Well, it's very difficult to figure out exactly what the plans that they have come up with within these last few minutes. Obviously, there are several alternate routes that the department and the Olympic officials have already looked into as to where they're not going to bring this torch. The building has several entrances and exits, so consequently it's a very secure area. And then once the decision has been made as to exactly which route they're going to take, then I'm sure then you would then see the movement of the police officers.
So you basically think they're deciding right now which way they're going to go?
Well, I think they have already decided several routes, looking at several possibilities ahead of time, and then at the last minute, it's a matter of saying, okay, you know, depending on where the demonstrators are located and how they're going to go about bringing their torch out.
When you talk about movement, we're looking at the live shot right now from Chopper 11 of this building. We see a number of cops there. It could be bicycle cops or motorcycle cops, San Francisco police, waiting at the front. There could be some movement in the next few minutes or so with the torchbearer or one of the torchbearers coming out. But now you're looking at San Francisco once again with the mayor talking to San Francisco police detail, perhaps about the route, perhaps about the security during this whole torch run.
Okay, the camera that you're looking at right now is what we're referring to as our torch cam. This will be the camera that will run alongside the runners as they traverse the city in this 3-mile run. Gavin Newsom there speaking with police. I don't think I see Heather Fong at this point. Officer Lum, real quick, will Heather Fong be the one that makes the call on which route they take, or is this a group decision by the mayor and other people? They are starting to move.
To my knowledge, it is the deputy chief who is the incident commander, and the deputy chief will be the one who's making the final call.
Okay, let's bring in, again, NBC 11's Diane Dwyer at McCovey Cove. Diane, what do you know?
Here's what we're seeing is a lot of activity around the San Francisco police boat. I'll show you over here. We've got the main boat that's been tied up there, and then we also have these guys on wave runners, police officers on wave runners who have just moved into this area. The torch is still inside the building as far as I can tell, so there's a lot of speculation right now that that torch may come out and may end up on the boat. Cheryl Hurd is here now. Cheryl, do you have a little more information for us?
Well, I do know, and I don't know what you just said, but they ran into that building. The torch is there, secured by a glob of police officers. From there, I have no idea where it's going. So they're getting their plan together to try and take it to another location. There are a couple of torchbearers in there just standing by, so I think this thing is just evolving.
That's what's so interesting about this, and we were talking about it with our expert as well. It seems as if they're trying to make the plan now, or at least adjust the plan kind of on the go.
I think they're doing that because they're looking at what happened along the Embarcadero. They're looking at the situation here, and I think they have so many contingency plans, we have no idea what's going to happen next.
Right, and I think the reason we have no idea is because I'm not sure they do either, but there is a lot of activity around that police boat right now, so that's certainly a possibility to bring them out there. But as Cheryl just told us, the torch is still inside that building, so this torch run has not begun. It lasted about, about 100 yards and came to an abrupt stop.
Could be the longest time-consuming 3-mile run in San Francisco. Let's go to NBC 11's Garvin Thomas, live along the Embarcadero. Garvin, what do you know?
Lisa, right now the situation is, I think, reflective of what's going on down at AT&T Park. Nobody knows what's going on. As I said before, just as the torch was beginning, there were a crowd of thousands down here. They've kind of moved back in the direction of the ferry building, and as you can see, a lot of people streaming in that direction. The protesters have kind of figured they don't know which way the torch is going, so I think they figured their best bet is to head back to the ferry building, because they figure that in that direction, Justin Herman Plaza, it might eventually end up there. But clearly, most of them just milling around right now, and I think they've come to the same conclusion that a lot of people know, is they don't know the route the torch is going to take, and their best bet is then to head down to Justin Herman Plaza. The bus that we have been talking about earlier, just to let you know, the tour bus the protesters stopped, they gave up on that. That bus is now moved on. It looks like right now they're protesters in search of a place to protest.
Well, and it could be a tactical decision on the part of the police department to create this kind of sense of confusion where the protesters don't know where to go, so that they do end up at a different location, and then they decide to run it so that they can avoid having as many people near the torch as possible.
Exactly. One of the protesters said that when the crowd was down here, had just about stopped about Brannan, a number of police officers on motorcycles dashed off in another direction.